Hey guys, welcome to Living It Up. Welcome to a beautiful day here in Chennai. And we're here to review the Ducati Panigale V4S 2025. A motorcycle which has gotten its first proper overhaul since its inception very many years ago. And the agenda this time around, as always, is to make it faster, but this time not by going for more power. This one still makes 216 horsepower, which is crazy considering it still meets the Euro 5 emissions. But they have gone the other side. They've made the motorcycle lighter. It's almost 4 kgs lighter than its previous iteration. But more importantly, they wanted to make it less physically demanding to ride in the hands of professionals as well as amateurs. To test the fact if it is actually easier to ride than its previous iteration, we have come to the perfect place, which is MMRT, which is a track which is notorious to be bumpy and has a mix of everything in terms of you have really technical sections, you have really fast flowing ones, as well as 3 long straights to really open her up. So it was a really interesting day, and we have come back with some very interesting perspective. I think I'm going to split up this review in different sections or sectors as you would have in a lap time, because that's where these motorcycles really shine through in different parts. That's where you understand it better in the different sections on a racetrack. So first, let's say you're on the straight, you're properly tucked in, and you're opening the gas. And what you realize is, firstly, the cockpit is a whole lot silent now, because for the first time ever, I think I fit on a Panigale really well. That's because the fairing now has been completely revised. It's a whole lot wider. As you can see, the winglets are now incorporated as a part of the fairing. The windscreen is taller and the seat is longer and wider, which allows me to scoot all the way back and properly tuck in. But I think the one phase where Ducati have really made the biggest impact, what has changed the Panigale into a proper game changer, is in the braking phase. And again, that is down to so many different components. Let's first start with the tank. The tank has been completely reshaped. And as you can see, I have really good support for my legs when I'm braking really hard, which helps with the weight transfer, which helps me to hold on to the motorcycle so much better. And then you have, of course, the new Brembo High Pure calipers, which of course are not only lighter, but they have been designed to offer consistent performance all through the day. Even after you're going and clocking faster and faster lap times, you will find that the braking performance has stayed the same. It's still as strong all through the day. And of course, you also have lighter alloy wheels, which means less rotational mass, which also helps braking. But I think the single biggest factor which has turned the Panigale into a proper game changer in hands of anyone who rides it is the new combined braking system. Now, as you all know, as we have seen in so many other motorcycles, combined braking is nothing new. We also have it in scooters where when you apply the front, the rear is also applied as well. That's not new. But what they have tried to do with this motorcycle, especially in the ABS1 mode, is they have tried to mimic what the professional racers do. They brake really hard in the straight line. They're going into a corner, trailing the brakes right up to the apex. But even after they let go of the front brake at the apex, a lot of them are still feathering the rear brake to tighten the line. Yeah, that is something which takes years and years of experience and expertise and practice to really finesse and develop that skill. But now, even as mortals can do exactly the same. All we need is a Panigale, because what it does now is the same thing. Let's say you're braking at the front really hard, you're carrying the brakes right up to the apex, and when you let go of the front brake, the rear is still engaged to help you tighten the line. And for me, that was absolutely incredible, because I don't think I have ever braked this hard right up to the apex, ever. And never has the Panigale given you that much freedom to not only choose what line you want to take, or to tighten the line or change your line mid-corner. The bike has become so much more forgiving in this. And another big benefit there is because even in ABS1, unlike in the previous iterations of the Panigale, you still have cornering ABS. So you already have that safety net to bank on, which gives you the confidence to really try this and really find the benefits that it has brought to the table and the improvements it brings in terms of your lap times. And once you tip the motorcycle into the corner, you'll be almost entering an unknown territory. Things will not feel very normal because the Panigale has never felt this good in a corner. You have never had this level of front end feel and feedback. And that's down to the changes they've made to the front frame and of course the much talked about double-sided swing arm. The idea here was they wanted to introduce more lateral flex into the chassis and the swing arm so that when you're in a corner, when the motorcycle is leaned over and doing insane degrees of lean, that's when the suspension doesn't really work very well. And that's when you want the chassis to flex a little bit to allow the motorcycle to firstly have really good composure even if you encounter some bumps, and secondly, the flex also helps the motorcycle turn a little bit better. Now they've done that by reducing the lateral flex in the chassis so it flexes a little bit more, and more importantly, they've now opted for the double-sided swing arm. I know it was a huge controversial topic. We have associated single-sided swing arms with Panigales ever since its inception, and Ducati themselves knew this. They tried the single-sided swing arms and the double-sided swing arms, tested them back-to-back for years, and they finally went ahead with this mainly because of the benefits that it brought to the table in terms of course, the weight reduction. There's insane amount of weight reduction with this new swing arm, and the flex, which I just spoke about, which they have been able to introduce with the swing arm, the lateral flex, which helps the motorcycle create and generate a lot more mechanical grip in a corner and even when you pick the motorcycle up. And when you pick up the motorcycle at the exit and open the gas, that's the one phase which all of us who have ridden any generation of Panigales in the past would really appreciate. Because with the older Panigales, when you opened up the engine at the exits, you had to hold on for dear life. 5th and 6th gears in the higher revs, the bike would almost start doing this to when it's really struggling to put all of that power down. But on this Panigale, it was the exact opposite. The bike feels so much calmer. There's so little drama. You can just feel the motorcycle, the rear tire hook up and catapult out at the exit. And that is again primarily down to the new double-sided swing arm and the mechanical grip that it helps the motorcycle generate. And complementing the swing arm is this new technological piece of marvel, which again Ducati have introduced in the form of the Ducati Vehicle Observer, which is this new algorithm that they have introduced, which they've used forever in MotoGP and World Superbike, wherein it is constantly studying all the data that is available, whether how much load there is on the rear tire, how much load there is on the engine, how much lean you are carrying, how much throttle you have on, what RPM you're running, taking all of this into consideration and predicting how the motorcycle will react in a way to give you the most perfect drive by limiting wheelies and limiting slides. So that's why you feel that the motorcycle now at the exit is so much calmer, because you have this really intelligent algorithm working in your favor. This is another important factor what makes the Ducati Vehicle Observer as effective as it is the introduction of the new semi-active Öhlins 3.0 suspension on the new Panigale V4S. And as hard as it is for me to accept, for the first time I've encountered a semi-active suspension which is very hard to fault and which works well even on a track as bumpy as MMRT. I often, with Superbikes which have electronic suspension, opt for fixed damping. I set it up myself and I prefer doing that because then I know exactly what the motorcycle and suspension would be doing. This time around, at Mr. Walia's insistence, I decided to give the active suspension a shot, and I was riding pretty much in the active mode the entire time. I was so pleasantly surprised at just how effective it is. You still have really good front end feel. The transition, the weight transfer is so much smoother, and how much it looks after the tires. I, in fact, for one session did try the fixed damping mode, but that's when I realized that I would spend at least another couple of sessions to refine the fixed damping to get and find the sweet spot that I was looking for. Whereas with the active suspension, it still gives you a little bit of leeway in terms of how much support you require, in terms of braking, in terms of when you're first entering the corner. You can still tweak it while still leaving it in a semi-active mode, and it works brilliantly. And that right there is the only flaw that we could find in the Panigale talking about suspension, is that they're running really soft springs, which meant that I was bottoming out while I was braking really hard into corners after the straights. And I can kind of understand why they have done it, why they have run such softer springs. Even the previous generation Panigales have run softer springs to give you this kind of feel, this kind of feedback. The front end has never felt this good. But right now, we tried everything to, ensure that the front suspension, the front forks don't bottom out. We are now only 4 turns from the stiffest setting on the preload for the forks. We bumped up the damping to a pretty high level, but still we could not really get around this problem. I mean, of course, we can bump up the damping even more. We can bump up the preload even more, and that will help us get around this problem. But then the motorcycle setup would be not working as well on the different parts of the tracks inside the corner, because the geometry would completely change. Because with this, I could not even really fully exploit the combined braking system that they've introduced with this motorcycle. I could do that to a fair extent when I rode the motorcycle at Buriram, but for whatever reason here at MMRT, because maybe the track is so bumpy, I just could not get the most out of the system, which is arguably one of the biggest factors which is going to play a key role in helping you reduce your lap times here. And the next thing, which you won't really mind as much on the racetrack, but you will definitely mind if you plan to ride this on the road, is the heat. In this Ducati's pursuit to ensure that it makes the same amount of horsepower, the fact that it is lighter also means that it heats up a lot. You won't really feel it as much when you're really going at it on the racetrack, but when you slow down, even when I went down this bridge and I was entering the pits, just in the small 100 meters, I could feel enough heat, which convinced me to look down, because I was really scared that my leg and the bike is on fire. It does heat up a lot. And the last part, as we have come to expect from Ducati, is you have to have the money to cough out, because this thing will put you back by 36.5 lakhs ex-showroom, which is an insane amount of money in anyone's books. But I almost think they have earned it. It feels like a motorcycle which is blisteringly fast in anyone's hands, whether you are a professional or an amateur, and how much easier it is to ride is all down to the technology which they have developed in racing, and that is trickled down to this. So what you're essentially looking at is a proper full-blown race bike. And I guess from that perspective, you can kind of understand why it costs as much, because it is a magnificent piece of machinery, and anyone who can afford it and brings it to a racetrack is going to be in for a hell of a time, because no other Panigale has ever flattered you more as a rider.